happening, guys? It's Alex here. I'm with my cameraman Josh and we're going to be doing a reflection video on my third professional fight.
Right mate, the first thing I want to ask, because I obviously only joined you later on in the day, first start off with the weigh-in, because that was on the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, so now initially the weigh-in was supposed to be the day before the fight, but because my opponent was coming from Italy, his flight didn't actually land until the Thursday night. So obviously the fight was on Friday, the weigh-in was going to be on the Thursday afternoon. And I found out Thursday morning he weren't coming until 11 o'clock at night on Thursday, which means the weigh-in has to be moved.
Because he's flying from Italy?
Yeah, because of his flight, yeah. So that meant that the weigh-in was on the day at 4 o'clock, which is a nightmare, because obviously I'll weigh in on the Thursday and then I'll refuel, you know, and eat a lot to prepare for the fight, and it just stopped me from doing that because I still had to make the weight on the day. So that was something that was new.
This is the first time you've had to do
that? Obviously, yeah, because the first two fights were both day before weigh-ins, so it was new to me. But I mean, I still made the weight. It weren't too bad, and then I got there at 4 o'clock, half 4 on the day of the fight and weighed in. But I mean, I didn't really understand it because the reason that we said, well, can I still not weigh in regardless of whether he's not here? And apparently the board wouldn't allow it because we had to be together to weigh in. Now got there at 4 o'clock on the day and he weren't there, so he came a bit later and weighed in. So I don't get why I couldn't have just weighed in the day before.
Is there any way that you could dispute this on the day at all, like, or?
I mean, no, I don't know. I probably could have done, but I didn't bother. I just left it. But you know, it's learning as well for me. You know, it's an experience that I probably needed to do. It needed to learn.
It's not going to be the first curveball.
Exactly. It's just a curveball that I needed to deal with, really. But one thing that we got told, I couldn't weigh in heavier than 9 stone 9. Right. So that was the fight was at 9 stone 7. There, my opponent, his manager said, if I weigh every pound over 9 stone 9, there's a penalty of £100 put in, right? So I was on a strict sort of basis of making weight. Now, like I say, on that day, I went to the weigh-in, I weighed in at 9 stone 8, so it was bang on. He wasn't there, so I didn't know his weight or anything like that. I didn't see him until later on in the night. Gets in the ring, announces, obviously announcing our names and everything, and he announces your weight, right? Now they announce him first, and the announcer go, I'm weighing in at 9 stone 11. And I remember...
What, him?
Yeah, him. He weighed in at 9 stone 11, so I've been told I can't go over 9 stone 9, so I don't. I come in at 9 stone 8, and he comes in at 9 stone 11. And you know what, it threw me for a good 10-15 seconds. Like when I'm waiting, I'm just thinking 9 stone 11, 9 stone 11.
So you were hearing, because obviously one could say, are you kind of really fixated in the zone, or are you really soaking in everything? So you obviously were hearing the
yeah. I was listening to the announcement and everything. Yeah, I was soaking it all in, and I couldn't believe it. I just think, cheeky.
Yeah. Because especially because it wasn't it that sort of pushed to make sure that you were both a specific way. It wasn't even the commissioner or anything, it was actually your opponent and his coach, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Making sure that you're...
Exactly, that I was on weight, so like there was, you know, that I deprived myself of some of the stuff that I had, you know, the day before and on the day, of what I would have ate, like if I had weighed in the day before, what I would have ate. Some of the stuff I didn't have, just because of that weight, and I think back I could have gone and done it, but oh well.
But like we were saying, it's good to have these kind of things thrown at you, because you will have things on each fight, I bet, like especially the first sort of 10 pro ones, they'll have very significant memories of each little hurdles you've had to do each one. Whether it be the day before or on the night. I can't remember what time I joined you, but I remember I kind of got there, you were warming up. With warming up before a fight, I bet you can warm up too early and you can warm up too late. What's your process with Brian? Like, how do you guys...
You know what, I like a long warm up, but I don't like an intense warm up as well. Obviously I was the last fight on out of 7, so I think I started warming up around the 4th or 5th fight. By starting the warm up, I mean like I went into the back and got changed, did my stretches, bit of shadow boxing, and then obviously you get on the pads. Now I probably didn't get on the pads with Brian till about fight 5 or 6, and then it was me. like I say, but I probably would have started around fight 4, so all my stretches, just loosening off, you know, then a bit of shadow boxing and stuff like that. Like I say, I like the long warm up, but if I started it in the pads since fight 4 and I wasn't until fight 7, don't like it. I feel
like noticed as well, so because when I've been with boxers or MMA fighters, each fight is different in the sense of like they like to be around the environment before the fight. Some like to be in the back and not have any of that energy kind of taken in. I noticed, like, because I was following you, you were kind of coming in and out of the back. You kind of like seeing what's going on, seeing maybe one of your pals going in, and then I was just curious because that was kind of one of the first times where I'd seen more of a fighter kind of be kind of in and out, because obviously with bowlers there's like the two teams obviously that they're quite next to the main arena, aren't they? There's that doorway. Yeah, so I'm guessing you kind of like to sort of, because I know there's a lot of your like friends, family there, so I suppose that kind of encourages you to sort of pop your head out.
Yeah, you know what I like. So when me family come in, I enjoy sort of being at the door, you know, to say hello to them, because I've not seen them all day really. I see them in the morning, and then I've got quite a busy day. So yeah, but obviously with all that, once I go and see, then I see my mates, and then they all come over, and then I end up being bombarded a little bit with everyone then, and I enjoy that because I soak up the atmosphere. But then once I've said hello to me, you know, my mum, dad, girlfriend, family, I'll go back in the changing rooms then. I'll just chill. Once the fights start, I'll come out, but I won't go out to a bit where, you know, everyone can see me. I'll just hide off in the back somewhere where I can see, just outside of the changing room, so I can watch the fight. I enjoy watching the fights to start with, because it gets me sort of in the mood. You know, I like watching it, and it gets me in the mood to fight myself.
With so like, because obviously there's like a lot of feelings and emotions like backstage, and I know obviously the more you fight, and especially like as the venues will change and get bigger and the stakes are higher, that it will never stay the same. But I mean, how, because this was your third pro, so like from the first to say the third, how are the sort of emotions and the adrenaline different compared to say your debut?
I think they're all very similar, because all 3 fights have it's been at the same venue. I've fought around the same time, you know, all 3 fights. The days have been very similar. I think obviously the first one was a lot worse because it was unexpected. I think it's got a lot easier as the fights have gone on. The second and third fight, I know sort of what to expect. I know how it works. But I mean, the nerves are still there, you know, warming up, going out. And I think, like I say, I think they have been similar, but you just get used to it now, because you get to know. I feel like if we change venue, perhaps it'd be a bit different. It'd be the unknown again. But yeah, I think it's just you get experience doing it once you do it a couple of times.
With nerves, I find with some like people say they don't have them, but I mean, I know a lot of fighters, because I think the main thing I've heard and I've kind of resonate with, I can imagine, is that you can use them to your advantage. It's how when you feel them, it's whether you go left or right with them. Is it a conscious thing, or are you in autopilot when you've got those nerves, or are you consciously thinking, right, I know what I'm feeling right now, I've that sort of like little bit of the butterflies in the stomach, and is it a controlled thing, or is it like an autopilot? Yeah,
I think deep down, your nerves will either work for you or work against you, and I think that has a lot to do with your preparation beforehand. I think a lot of it is a psychological thing. So if you know you've prepared right, you've not cut any corners, you've done everything right, them nerves that you're feeling in your head, you're thinking, yeah, it's gonna work in my favour. You know, it's the adrenaline, and it'll have a positive effect. I think if you haven't prepared right, perhaps, and you have got them doubts in your mind. Because I think with the nerves, it's weird with the nerves. It's like, I was saying this to Brian on when we got to the venue and we was walking around and looking at the ring. This was before anyone even got there. I said to Brian, I said, it's so weird. I said, because I get the nerves I get the feeling of, what if I forget how to box? What if I just forget everything? And Brian was laughing, and he says he's the same thing. Like when I'm in there, he thinks, what if I forget what to tell him? What if I don't know what to say? But we do, you know what I mean?
As soon as the bell goes.
As soon as the bell goes, it switches, but you're always going to have them nerves, and I don't know why, but like I say, I do think it does. I think you need them nerves, I think, because that's what gets you in the zone, and it keeps you switched on, you know, it keeps you on your toes. I feel like if you just went in there thinking 100%, yeah, be fine, got nothing to worry about whatsoever, you'll probably underestimate it all. Whereas before it, if you are worrying and you're thinking, oh, what if, not on an extreme level, mate, it's just like the little doubts in your mind, they will work in your favour because you make sure that you eradicate them when you're boxing, you know.
With because I know obviously you have a very kind of specific ring walk. I know obviously with the tune and just sort of the way you come out and how attentive you are to sort of looking out and whatnot. Yeah, kind of is that sort of whole thing been just through pro, or did you have that kind of set up during your amateurs?
Well, so the Sweet Caroline, the tune, that sort of originated, from the amateurs. The last couple of amateur fights, like the home shows that I did, I came out to Sweet Caroline and I just loved, I don't even know where it started, I can't remember the fight I picked it, but I just loved the atmosphere, how everyone starts singing. It just creates that buzz for the fight, so I stuck to it. I mean, there is a link with the team. I follow Bolton. Whenever we won a game, they'd put it on at the end of the game, and we'd all sing it. So I had that connection with Bolton. So that's one of the reasons why I chose it as well. But overall, it's mainly just the fact that the atmosphere it creates, when you come out, and I love the song anyway, I do love the song.
It definitely gets everyone involved.
It's a great song. I sing, you might watch me on the ring walk, I'm singing it as I'm walking out, and yeah, it's just such a good song.
I think that there's a battle of the kind of crowd singing it, and then they're competing with Grace, because we can hear Grace kind of, screaming. When I was looking back at the footage, I was just sort of like, wow, that girl was like, but I can imagine my Liz doing the same, but yeah, I was like, what's louder, the crowd or Grace here? So fair play to her, because she's obviously and rightfully so, kind of giving that full support and
number one fan, mate.
I bet all those little extra decibels, just like any moment where you have those, like we're talking about, like the nerves or anything, if you hear someone like Grace and whatnot, it just sort of like just that spurt of energy again. Yeah,
it's a familiar voice, and I was having this debate with someone last night actually about what you can hear when you're in there, and a lot of the time you don't hear a lot, but them familiar voices, sometimes they do just float in a little bit, and I suppose it's just comforting, isn't it, when you hear them.
Can you, so like friends and family, can you actually like hear them out as well? Because it's just Grace, but I've obviously not met your family, but is it just like any of the friends or family can hear it?
You can. I heard my dad a couple of times, to be honest with you. It's funny because you don't really hear what they say, you just hear the voice. And it's like I was saying last night, I was chatting with my mate, we had a show on in here and I was watching the show, the amateur boxing show, and it makes me laugh when people are shouting such complex things to the boxer, like jab and move, feint, move to the right, and they can't hear what you're saying. So it just makes me laugh when people
do it, but it's not coming across.
And it doesn't come across. I won't be in the boxing ring and then next minute hear my dad shout feint and throw the backhand and then do it. It doesn't work. I might hear Brian who's in my corner because I'm listening out for Brian, but in terms of like the crowd, you just hear the noise, and I could say sometimes you hear which voice it is, but because you're so focused and switched on, a lot of the time you don't hear nothing.
Do you know what was interesting at some point during COVID? I don't think boxing had to do this, because I remember that they still had some people in the shows, but there was a point with UFC where they did closed like sort of sets almost like the fights, so there was like, it wasn't like a crowd or anything, and it was the opposite of so your coach could be shouting something out and it would be crisp clear, but then obviously your opponent or their team could hear it, so it was like it was the complete opposite end of like knowing what to. But then I noticed that there's some like Trevor Whitman, that there's some coaches where they had like code talk.
Clever,
so that's where, and they didn't do that specifically because of the COVID situation. They just happened to have that.
Yeah, I've come across little stuff like that inspiring.
What code?
Yeah, like just like little, like different coaches and different gyms, and I've been down sparring and next minute I hear their coach shout something that I've never heard before to my sparring partner, and I'm thinking, wow, yeah, that's clever because I don't know what they're saying,
Yeah, but I bet it's a game, but like it's always referred to as a game of chess, because I wonder if there's some people or like fighters where they'll shout something like throw a jab, but that actually is like in inverted, like means something else, so it's like to trick you. I bet there's people that do that.
Yeah, you know what, there probably will be. Yeah, I think that'd just make everything a bit more confusing. But
yeah, and it'd look a bit like carnage. But yeah, I know the people go to the extent.
Might work.
With the your opponent from Italy, isn't it? Christian.
Yeah, Christian Naves. I think his second name was.
A lot of respect between the two of you. I mean, through watching the fight, and obviously there was that moment when at the end he came over to you and you just sort of got a photo.
Yeah,
and he was going back to Italy the next day.
Yeah. No, massive respect to him. He was good in as well. I thought he was game. He came to win, and he brought it to me, and he made it a really entertaining fight. But yeah, I think he was Nicaraguan, or I don't know how to pronounce where he's actually from. I think it's like South American or something like that. But he's living in Italy. But yeah, he's credit to him. He came down, he had a go, and he made it a good fight. And I enjoyed it.
Did he just come with? Because I remember saying to you again on the night, I bet it does take balls, doesn't it, to not only do this, but then to go to another country.
Yeah. And
then especially if there's not many of you, because I think he's the impression I got was it just him and maybe one guy.
Yeah, there was one other lad I think who was with him who fought on the same show. Yeah.
Oh, so he had a friend that fought on the. Oh,
yeah, on the same show. I think the impression I got was they were from the same gym and they've come together.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, it must be daunting, mustn't it? Yeah.
You get to do that, kind of go over somewhere with Brian in Italy or France and just.
I'd imagine so. Yeah, probably at some point in my career, end up fighting abroad and doing that. Yeah, but you can imagine it's daunting, especially being the underdog. You know what I mean? You've got a massive hill to climb, haven't you? A big mountain to climb.
Crowd, because obviously,
the crowd,
you've had a lot of people there to help support, and that noise. I bet it plays fucks with your mind a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, let's just kind of go through round by round. How did you kind of, before even obviously the fight came, was there a certain game plan that you had?
The game plan really that we went in was just sort of, because I knew he'd be smaller than me, was just keep it long. We had watched him, prior to the fight, and we thought the body was there for the taking. So, body shots were a big thing, which now when thinking back on the fight and watching the fight back, I don't think I exploited that as much as really I should have done. Or whether it was just a case of it wasn't as open as they expected it to be, his body, but that was the sort of game plan. Keep it long, keep his high work rate, punching in combinations, and just work the body and work the head. Yeah.
Because in the moment, whenever I'm sort of filming a fight, you can not only I'm concentrating on the framing and taking in the atmosphere and whatnot. And then when I watched it again, I did kind of take on some sort of thoughts on each round. The one thing I did find interesting, you were, and I'm not just saying this because obviously what the relationship me and you have, is that I noticed that you were a lot more tight. He had from round one, he had his hands down quite a bit more. Yeah. You had yours up, but you were just a lot more tight.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I don't know if the nerves were just maybe getting the better of him and whatnot. But, and not of forever, you were saying to me, I know you were very adamant on taking the centre of the ring.
Yeah.
And that was almost, I'm pretty sure you did that every round, the 4 rounds. Do you remember what Brian's notes were after the first round?
After the first round, I remember him saying the word he used was beautiful.
Okay.
So when it's good because when you hear that, you're boxing well, and he said, yeah, beautiful that, and then I remember me saying to him, yeah, I'm happy with that, referring to how I did in the first round. And I think it was just say keep on with the jab and keep working the body more. He definitely told me to throw more feints after the first round. I remember that. But yeah, it's weird because when something is working, I feel like what I did in the first round worked well. So when something is working, there's not. Do you change anything to step it up, or do you keep on with it? And I think as the rounds went on and he was getting more competitive, it was that's when the adjustments sort of came in, more, like keeping tight and moving off at certain angles. Brian was telling me to move off to the left because a lot of the time he'd switch to southpaw, but it stays away from his big backhand. But I mean, a lot of the time what he did was, because he was a shorter fighter, when he was inside, he was coming over with a big over the top punches. So I had to be switched on to stay away from them, move out, but then once I've moved out, come back into counted as well. And I think that's something I started doing as the rounds went on, which I didn't pick up from the start. So but this is why obviously I have the corner men, to pick up on these things that I don't pick up on.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of the stuff, like when I'm in there, I'm thinking of myself, like what works, what doesn't work, like little openings that I find. I'm seeing them, thinking about it myself when I'm in there. But then I come back and Brian just sort of confirms it all, and
it makes sense that you said that, because I definitely remember from round 2. I remember feeling, because I watched it again before I come today, and it was like your output was a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even though your output was really good in the first one, it's just like you said, you just kind of kept it what worked, kept it simple, and then just did a bit more of it. And I noticed you were like you were using just more of like a jab to sort of set things up more, pepper them away.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing really when you are a taller fighter. I don't think it all went to plan, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I got drawn into a fight, you know what I mean? Like the height difference favoured him, to be honest. Whether that's a fault of mine or whether that was just it just worked better for him, I don't know. But I enjoyed working up close and inside. And now you see a lot of tall fighters. Some of them can be sort of very one-dimensional, whereas if it doesn't work long, they come a bit stuck. Where I'm happy to stay in close and to take a few and throw a few and work it, box it his game. And I think a lot of spells through that fight I did that. But like I say, I enjoyed it. There was no point where he caught me with a few good shots. There was no point where I was hurt or anything. So I thought, well, if I can stay inside, because I know if he does land a good shot, I can take it and I can throw to your back.
Yeah, because when you saw what you just said then, you saw more of that, because I think it was in round 3 or 4, he gets you with a 1-2 at one moment in your head, just like a couple of strikes, but then you can't. Do you remember that?
See,
I think it was round 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think it was. And I can't remember if it was a hook back or if it was a 1-2, but
I think it was a 1-2.
Right, and I remember it.
Nice, and
because I went to throw, and he's countered as I've thrown. He's caught me with 2 clean digs, and like I say,
round 3, that was it.
Round 3.
Round 3,
but it didn't faze me. It didn't hurt me or anything like that. I took it well, to be honest.
I thought on my notes, I was like, just ask Alex, did he have a bit of a headache after that? You can kind of see it, because obviously with the speed as well, I think, was it from a counter then that he did it? So that's probably why then, You can see like a 2 whiplash moment, but you kind of you can tell that your style and your aura is very like, no, I'm not backing up, because like obviously when we train, when we've spoken about it, it's that mind game, isn't it? Because at any point you do that, they're going to capitalise.
Yeah, of course.
On doing that.
Of course, and that's probably his game plan, to wait for me to throw and then counter, and it's going to work at some point in the fight, isn't it? And but yeah, I was happy with I think he only caught me clean like that once where he's caught me with the 2 big shots. But I think if I remember rightly, after getting caught with them 2, I think I landed a good 3, 4, 5 punch combo after it, because I thought you can't catch me twice like that and then me not answer back. So I think I answered it back quite well and got him on the ropes straight after it. But that's what I'm saying. It made it an entertaining fight. It did. It made it really good.
Do you remember? Was it yesterday when we were last trained? I was talking to you about like the mind games of like when you after the round, whether you sit or you stand. And I was like, in training, I can just sort of like I've noticed because I'm always on you. We already had one camera on the night. You stood up, I think, every round.
Yeah.
Did he sit down every round?
He sat down. Yeah.
And like. So it's a bit coincidental, like obviously as we were already talking about recently. That was quite a thing I took away as well. Like a bit like in the subliminal, like kind of not subliminal, but like sort of subconscious mind games.
And I think like people might do that for mind games. For me, it's not really. I don't stand up for the mind game element of it. I just think especially 4-rounders, I can understand, 6, 8, 10, 12 round fights, you're going to sit down in between the rounds because, you're going to want to give them legs a rest, you stood up for a while. I think 4-rounders, it's because it's turned into the norm to just sit down in between rounds during a fight. Everyone does it, but when you actually think about what you're doing, like when else do you ever sit down, when you go through your sparring all the way through the camp, have you ever once sat down during a round in sparring? No. So then I just think for me to then go and do it in the fight, it's just something I don't do. And I feel like we were speaking about, weren't we, the other day, about how it could just, you could switch off whilst you sat down. It might just drain you a little bit. I prefer to be stood up, ready to go again. Like I say, as the rounds go on, but even 6 rounders I'll probably end up standing up. But once I start getting into 8, 10, 12 rounders, then it's probably clever to sit down and give your legs a little rest.
Do it. It's kind of the obvious of doing it when needed.
Rather
than just taking it because it's there.
Yeah, taking it because it's there. Yeah, I just prefer to stand up.
When we were talking about it there, I remember thinking of it. It's like literally turning your car off at the end of the round, and then kind of like going, right, I'm going to turn the car on, whereas you just keep the car running.
Yeah, you can go straight away.
But yeah, no, it was awesome to see, and obviously that was the first fight that I've been able to kind of manage to come see, watch you live, and obviously film it. What is next? How does the next move play out?
I don't know. I'm still waiting to hear now. You're probably looking around June, July, August time. I'm just happy to go whenever now. I'm back training, back in the gym, and it's just now for me start getting a routine again together and get back into training. It'd be a lot easier once I do get a date, to something to train for. But now I'm just making do with the knowledge of it's probably going to be around the summertime, so I'll just aim for that, and just staying active. But yeah, I'll be happy around June, July, August, and so keep your eyes out for them.